You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Glad you can join me on an all-new podcast of All Things Sports with Mike Davis. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Make sure you go to the Facebook page, get in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. I won't take up much more of your time. Let's get into it. Well, let me start off by saying Happy New Year's. A late Happy New Year's. The holidays are behind us, and we can get on with our regular, everyday lives. We thought that maybe we left 2020 behind us, but 2021, 2021, I won't say it's gotten off to a bad start, but there have been some hiccups. So let's not let those little hiccups disrupt the rest of what we have going on. What we have going on for the rest of the year. All right. So I wanted to get into some of the NFL playoffs that just happened this past weekend. What was it? Super Wild Card weekend. So why don't we start with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. The Steelers are who I thought they were, in the words of Denny Green, R.I.P. to him. The game started wrong for Pittsburgh. 2 turnovers in the first 5 minutes. And, one of the turnovers leading to a quick 7. It reminded me of that Seahawks Super Bowl where, what was the Super Bowl they lost? Where it started against Seattle. The Seahawks against the Broncos. I'm sorry. Yeah, I said that, I think. But it reminded me of the Seahawks Super Bowl against the Broncos when, first play went for a safety, and Seattle could have just won with that, really, the way it went. They didn't need much. But the game started wrong for Pittsburgh with 2 quick turnovers. I believe Pittsburgh had 3 total turnovers in the first quarter. And because of it, the Browns got out to a 28-0 lead in the first quarter. I have never seen nothing like that. I have never seen a team jump out in front of another team that big in the first quarter. The Browns led 35-10 at the half. I won't say that's all she wrote, because Pittsburgh kind of mounted a, if you wanted to call it a semi-comeback, they made the game respectable. The Steelers, they had 2 great drives in the third quarter. That made it 35-23, which was manageable for the Steelers. But unfortunately, Big Ben, he threw a crucial pick in the fourth quarter, which pretty much iced the game for the Browns. Roethlisberger was 48 of 68. Yeah, so Roethlisberger really, besides the interceptions, and they were bad turnovers, 48 of 68, 501 yards throwing, 4 touchdowns. His O-line didn't give up a sack. It's just the mental mistakes Roethlisberger made in that game. The 4 picks, it doomed them. And one of the key elements of playing football is don't turn the football over and make sure you can run the ball. Now, in my opinion, this game was more about the Steelers losing this game than the Browns winning. If you take those turnovers away from Big Ben, Pittsburgh probably wins this game in a shootout. Now, Baker Mayfield, he was solid. I'm not going to take nothing away from him. He played well. He threw for 263, 3 touchdowns, had a QBR of 115. Now, the only thing is the Browns didn't really impress me. They just capitalized on the Steelers' mistakes. I need to see Cleveland go out and, just take control of a game, march down the field continuously on a consistent basis and get points. That just didn't really stand out to me in this game. It was more about Pittsburgh losing this game more so than Cleveland winning it. Kareem Hunt, 8 carries, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb ran for 76. And I think that was one of the major differences in the game. They were able to run the ball, keep that clock just moving until ultimately the Steelers just ran out of time, ran out of gas. That was all she wrote for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Cleveland will advance on. They will play the Kansas City Chiefs. And I forget the guy who was salty. He said, that the Browns are going to get clapped against the Chiefs. The guy was salty from Pittsburgh, but I totally agree. I totally agree. The Cleveland Browns are going to be, I won't say they'll be annihilated, but their offense is going to have a better showing than they did against Pittsburgh. Now, look, I'm not taking nothing away from the Browns. Their defense put them in a position to win. That's what you want. You don't want your offense to make mistakes, and that's what the Cleveland Browns did. So I can't take nothing away from them. They played textbook football, but I just want to see that Cleveland Brown offense just take control of a game instead of just more so. I won't say more so letting the defense put them in a position to win, because that's what you want anyway as a football team. But I feel more confident about Cleveland if Baker Mayfield can actually just lead the way. But taking nothing away from them, they went out, got the job done. Congratulations. The Cleveland Browns will move on. They will face the Kansas City Chiefs in the next round. All right, in other NFL news, the Philadelphia Eagles have made a decision. They have fired head coach Doug Peterson. Now, Peterson recently led the Eagles to a Super Bowl, which is kind of shocking to me they were going to fire him this quick. Now, he's expected to remain, no, I'm sorry. Like I said, they fired him. The thing was, he was expected to remain as head coach despite a 4-11-1 finish. Now, multiple meetings with team owner Jeffrey Lurie over the past week, kind of left them unconvinced that Peterson had a sound vision on how to address the many issues facing the team. Now, from navigating from Carson Wentz to fixing an offense that finished 26th in scoring, 28th in passing in 2020. Jeffrey Lurie went on to say that the decision to move on from Peterson was not just specific to Wentz or any position group. Now, focusing instead on the regression of the offense overall in a season during which the NFL set a record for points scored. Now, Lurie didn't commit to Wentz returning next season, but suggested that the new coaching staff would work with the quarterback to get him back on track. So going into what I want to talk about now is what happens with Carson Wentz, because remember, he reportedly asked for a trade. Now, the relationship between Wentz and the Eagles were being reported as fractured, and he requested a trade during this upcoming offseason rather than compete with Jalen Hurts for the starting job heading into the 2021 NFL season. Now, multiple teams, including the Indianapolis Colts, who was led by head coach Frank Wright, they were just they were just eliminated. He previously worked with Wentz as the offensive coordinator in 2016 and 2017, and they're expected to express interest in the quarterback, but the Eagles' asking price is going to be high if they do decide to move on from Wentz. Now, Wentz struggled before Hurts replaced him in the starting lineup going into Week 14 against the New Orleans Saints. Now, he completed a career low of 57% of his throws for only 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns to 15 interceptions in 12 games. Now, his 4-year, $128 million contract runs through 2024 with cap hits that range from $31 million to $34. That's going to be an issue for some acquiring teams. Now, in turn, Wentz may need to agree to a substantial contract restriction to accommodate a trade. Now, with all that going on and Doug Peterson has been fired, you're like, well, what now? Does he stay or what? But this tells me that Carson Wentz might be back into the fold now. The incoming head coach, it might not be that big of a deal because Carson Wentz pretty much laid it out. If he's not the starter, trade him. He said he doesn't want to compete with Hurts going into next season. So I guess the new incoming coach is going to have to say, Wentz is my guy. But let's be real. Carson Wentz hasn't been the same since he tore his ACL during that Eagles Super Bowl run. Now, if he does end up being traded, or I just don't see the Eagles outright releasing him, he's going to get a job. There are going to be teams in the market. The Steelers, the Niners reportedly might be in the market if they decide to move on from Garoppolo. The Patriots, they have a situation with Cam. It looks like they'll be moving on. I'll talk about that later in the podcast. And the New Orleans Saints, these are teams that will be in the market for a starting quarterback. So Carson Wentz is going to have a starting job, I believe, whether it's with the Eagles or with another team. So we'll just have to wait and see how that turns out during this upcoming off season. All right, now let's finish going on. Talking about the AFC playoffs. The Ravens, they advance. Now, this game was about could Lamar Jackson get a playoff win, and it looks like he got his. Not looks like he did. He got his first playoff win of his career. The Titans looked good until about the 8-minute mark left in the second quarter. And then after that, the Ravens, they scored 17 unanswered. Now, this game came down to old school football, which is what I like. If you can run the ball, you give yourself a chance to win. Derrick Henry could not run the football. 18 carries, only 40 yards. Didn't work out for the Titans. Lamar Jackson was accurate throwing the ball, completing 70% of his passes, but he couldn't push the ball downfield. That was my issue with him. But he was able to run the ball. He ran for 136 yards, which was the difference in the game, honestly. That was the big difference in the game. And, Tennessee, I don't know what to say about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had an amazing year, which is crazy to see that none of his offensive linemen were selected to a Pro Bowl this year, but he ran for over 2,000 yards. That might be a first, I believe. But nonetheless, the Ravens, they advance and they get some get back at the Titans. Remember late in the season when they played each other and the Titans, gathered around the Ravens logo at midfield and were stomping on it, if you want to call it that. Well, the Ravens returned the favor after an interception late that pretty much sealed the game. They the defense huddled up around the Titans logo at midfield and started to get some get back. I'm not mad at it. If you don't want guys to do it, and stop it. So in this game, like I said, the Ravens, they move on. They will take on the Buffalo Bills. Unfortunately, I think this is where their season comes to an end. I think Buffalo has the advantage. I'll talk about that probably on a later podcast. Preview of that game. I think it's going to be a good game. I think all the good games in the AFC are going to be good games. NFC, I'm not really too hyped up about those games, but the AFC is looking pretty good. All right, so we're going to stay AFC, and we're going to go over to Foxborough. Do they still play in Foxborough? I know it's not Boston. I believe it's Foxborough. New England. The New England Patriots. Well, they were in the news again. Head coach Bill Belichick said Monday that he will not move forward with the Presidential Medal of Freedom that Donald Trump plans to present to him on Thursday. Now, the Presidential Medal of Freedom was established by John F. Kennedy in 1963, and it is awarded by the president to individuals who have made exceptional contributions to the security of national interests of America, to world peace, or to cultural or other significant public or private endeavors. Now, Trump recently has selected several sports figures and political backers for the honor. Hall of Fame golfers Annika Sorenstam, Gary Player, along with the late multi-sport athlete Babe Zaharias. Am I pronouncing his name right? I apologize if I didn't. They received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and so yeah, they have received the award. Belichick, who is 68, just concluded his 46th season in the NFL and his 21st as the Patriots head coach. He's led the Patriots to 6 Super Bowl championships, joining George Halas, Curly Lambeau as the only coaches with 6 championships since the league began postseason play in 1933. Belichick's 311 victories are third all time. Now, that's regular season and playoffs combined, but that's third all time behind Don Shula and Halas. So, all right, staying in New England, it looks like they're going to move on. The reports are coming out of New England that they reportedly won't attempt to re-sign quarterback Cam Newton when his one-year contract expires at the season's end, which it has. Now, it's being reported that both Newton and the Pats are ready to head their separate ways before next season. Now, Newton signed a one-year, $1.75 million deal. It was incentive-laden. He signed this deal back in July. Now, the deal looked like a potential steal, through the first 2 weeks. He scored 5 touchdowns, 4 rushing and 1 passing over that span. And the 2015 NFL MVP, he mostly struggled as a passer after week 2. In all, he completed just 65% of his attempts, threw for 2,400 yards with 5 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in 14 games. Now, he added 513 yards on the ground with 12 scores. And Cam Newton explained that the inadequate time to learn the Patriots system, because he signed late in the offseason and the elimination of preseason games because of the coronavirus pandemic, played a role in his lackluster numbers, but he also understands that there is room for improvement. Now, here's my thoughts on, Cam and New England separating, going their own ways. It's not going to get better for New England. They have no receivers, and that's Belichick's problem. Belichick created that mess. This is why Tom Brady got out of there. Tom Brady was winning in spite of not having receivers. Let's just call it what it is. The guys that played with him, the receivers, Brady made those guys. Because once those guys leave New England, you never hear from them ever again. So Cam had nobody to throw the football to. But then again, look, I wasn't a Cam fan when he was in Carolina. Cam had like one amazing good year. That was the MVP year. Other than that, Cam has been average at best. He never really was a great passer, but his legs kept his team in games and got him wins. But now he's older now, and, defenses can keep up with him. I was never a fan of Cam, really. And that's not to say he's not going to get another job. I do think he's going to get another job. I think he's going to sign in Washington. I think Rivera is going to bring him in and try and rework some of their old magic that they had, in Carolina, so to speak. I'm not a big fan of them. But, we'll see what happens. New England is back on the market, apparently, for a quarterback. I'm telling you, this thing in New England is going to get worse before it gets better. I see Belichick eventually just leaving the job. It's not worth it. And Brady has proven that he was the Patriots. It was all about him. And it's one of those things where it is what it is. All right, let's switch over into the NBA. Now, Kyrie Irving apparently is missing. He's missing, but he's not missing. He wants to play, he doesn't want to play. He wants to play, he doesn't want to play. He wants to play, he doesn't want to play. It's a seesaw with him. So Kyrie Irving, he hasn't been showing up, and there was one game where he didn't even let his head coach Steve Nash know he wouldn't even be attending the game to play. Kyrie Irving will now be investigated by the NBA and reportedly miss at least 3 more games. Now, Irving has missed Brooklyn's past 4 games for undisclosed personal reasons. Now, the Nets also expect him to miss the team's 2 remaining games this week at a minimum. Now, the NBA is launching an investigation into a video of Irving allegedly attending a family birthday party without a mask. Now, the Nets later released a statement from general manager Sean Marks saying that the team is working with Irving and that the NBA, the team is working with Irving and the NBA in the investigation. And that Marks confirmed that Irving remains away from the team, but said the Stars' return date is not finalized. Here's my thing on that. You got duped, Brooklyn. You got duped. Because Kyrie Irving showed you who he was. He's never going to change. This is a guy who, for lack of a better word, bitched his way out of Cleveland. He wanted to be the man, and he bitched his way out of there. And now he got Kevin Durant to come to Brooklyn. How do you feel about Kevin Durant? It's a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face to Durant, his teammates, his head coach. He's just, saying, whatever. I'm going to do me, and you all are going to deal with it. It is what it is. So I don't know what happens going forward. I'm not a big fan of Kyrie Irving. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if he has some type of mental situation going on, or he just doesn't want to play basketball, or he's just trying to see how far he can get away with things with management. I don't know. But I think he needs to hurry up and make a decision on whether he wants to play basketball or not. But he screwed Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant should be furious at this guy. He should really be furious at this guy. So, yeah, that sucks if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan. All right, guys. You know what? I'm gonna cut it short here. I'm going to cut this podcast short here. I'm going to end it right here on the first podcast of All Things Sports with Mike Davis in the year of 2021. That's all I got for you today, folks. I thank you for including my podcast into your day. If you're listening on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. Go to the Facebook page and in contact with the show for comments or suggestions. You've been listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis. And remember, it's your world. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm out. Peace.
You're listening to All Things Sports with Mike Davis.